NASA and Australia confirm a strategic lunar partnership. Gilmour Space signs on to get a leg up in orbit. Revolutionising communication with satellites. Has evidence of subsurface oceans been found orbiting Uranus? And detailed contingency plans being drafted at Virgin orbit.
This is Trekzone's Talkin' Science.
This is the Bite-Sized Podcast, catching you up on the latest science and space headlines. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson and his deputy, Colonel Pamela Melroy, have visited Australia to reaffirm collaboration efforts between our two space agencies. For the first time since our space agency was established, a sitting NASA Administrator has visited Australia, and it tied in with an announcement by Minister for Industry and Science Ed Husic that consortiums AROSE and the EPE and Lunar Outpost Oceania will each receive $4 million to design early-stage prototypes of a semi-autonomous rover for lunar exploration. A memorandum of understanding has been signed between Gilmour Space and Artemis Space in the US, which will see Gold Coast-based Gilmour Space contracted to provide launch services with its Ares orbital launch vehicles, while Artemis will supply orbital transfer vehicles for in-space transportation as well as launch aggregation services. Artemis have a one-of-a-kind approach for tackling the orbital rise of satellites to their desired altitude, with these OTVs residing in space where they rendezvous with client satellites on orbit and elevate them to the desired position. This frees up the mass and volume of Gilmour's Eris rocket for the payload, reducing costs and broadening the scope of missions. 26 years after technology created by Australia's CSIRO, which helped invent Wi-Fi, it seems like they've done it again. Now, where Wi-Fi was invented as a byproduct of radio astronomers searching for signals generated by tiny black holes, phased array feeds, pioneered by CSIRO also for radio astronomy, are set to revolutionise the way ground-based antennae communicate with multiple satellites. The spun-off company aiming to develop this technology, Quasar Satellite Technologies, has just received a $6 million pre-Series A funding grant, following on from the $5.3 million Defence Innovation Hub contract. The $11 million total will be used to fast-track defence contracts and develop the technology in multiple RF bands. Australia has joined the US and other nations in committing to never conduct destructive direct ascent anti-satellite missile testing. Those other nations include the UK, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, Japan and the Republic of Korea. Research into these anti-satellite weapons, or ASATs, began in 1957 with an F-15 launching a missile from 38,000 feet, successfully destroying the Solwind Solar Observatory, creating nearly 300 pieces of debris, which only cleared planetary orbit in 2004. In the 90s, the US decreased research funding, but upon a change in policy in the 2000s, China joined the race with a 2007 launch destroying a weather satellite, creating almost 150,000 pieces of debris, much of which is still remaining in orbit. In 2019, India joined the ASAT race, also successfully destroying a satellite, and in 2021, Russia became the fourth nation when its destructive test caused international outcry and threatened the safety of the International Space Station. While direct ascent ASATs are off the table, co-orbital weapons haven't been ruled out, ones that travel with another payload. A new study of 40-year-old Voyager 2 data suggests two of Uranus's moons may have subsurface oceans. Ariel and Miranda may well be joining 5 other satellites thought to be home to subsurface oceans after new research into the radiation and magnetic data collected by the probe in 1986. The identification came from the low-energy charged particle instrument on Voyager 2 in the form of trapped energetic particles the spacecraft spotted as it departed the ice giant. It was identified by a team led by Ian Cohen at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, whose colleagues back in the 80s actually built the instrument. This finding only strengthens the desire of astronomers to revisit Uranus, with Voyager 2 currently the only human-made probe to fly past. Identifying sources of water on the lunar surface may prove critical to the future lunar outpost the Artemis program is working to establish. And now SOFIA data has been collated for the first time to form a map of the distribution of H2O, which shows how the supply of water changes with the peaks and valleys of the cratered lunar surface. Past missions have attempted to identify water molecules with surveys at wavelengths of 3 microns, but these were unable to distinguish hydroxyl, which contains one hydrogen atom, with water. It was Sophia in 2020, scanning at 6 microns, who cracked the mystery and allowed researchers to calculate 12 ounces of water per 1 cubic metre of lunar soil. Well, after pausing operations and furloughing all but essential staff last week, Virgin Orbit continues its crisis planning. The Richard Branson brainchild is still reeling from November's quarterly earnings report, showing a $50.5 million loss with only 71 million cash on hand. Those disastrous figures were preceded by a failure to launch in January from Cornwall in the UK, resulting in the loss of 9 satellites after a fuel filter became dislodged in flight. Virgin Orbit is the air launching side of the space business, with Virgin Galactic varying passengers to weightlessness, but they also haven't flown since 2021. Members get perks. Click join under every Trekzone video to sign up and get early access and behind the scenes for less than a cup of coffee a month. For our podcast listeners, jump onto the trek.zone/support. Clicking thanks under Trekzone's videos enables a one-time contribution, while heading to the trek.zone/PayPal is the most direct route into this podcast budget. Nothing fancy, just my pure dedication to the network for a decade, the website for 2. Do any of them today and have my eternal gratitude. Or simply continue watching, liking and subscribing. That works too. I'm Matt Miller for Trekzone. I'll see you in the comments.